Jesus. Hello. It's a very warm, sunny day here in Goodyear, Arizona. Hello, chat. This is Nick Wan. Thanks for tuning in to the monthly Yap. Shout out to everyone who's been watching the pod. I do these not daily, but slightly more than weekly on average, depending on how you count it. Usually comes in spurts, but people who have been watching these since the last time I did the monthly, thanks for all the questions, and it's been fun to engage both on the Discord and also in the YouTube comments. That's been kind of nice, so thanks. Spring training is winding down. We're heading into the last week of spring training. A lot of people leave camp sometime between the 22nd and 24th of March. Currently it's the 15th, 16th. I don't know what day it is, but we're close to the end of it. So, I don't know. It's been kind of. I always think spring training is like both really long and really short. Like the days feel super long because you're doing so many things, but the 6 weeks that you're out here, and for me it's sometimes 7 or 8 weeks that I'm out here, it feels super short. Like time flies by, but you think about it, it's like, oh, I haven't slept in my own bed in 2 months. For some people, like, they've seen their family, they've seen their partner, their kids, maybe a week out of the last 8 weeks. So, a lot of us are pretty ready to get out of here. And I would kind of agree. Hold on, I kind of want to avoid the, there's like some sort of hedges or something that's being trimmed. So I'll try to avoid that. But then do I really want to like walk through the basketball game? That's fine. Just walk around. Got a lot of spring training questions, so I will lead with some spring training questions. Things we got on the agenda today. Spring training questions. We got some esports questions, some sports analytics questions, some neuroscience questions. If you are unfamiliar, my background is in neuroscience. I have my PhD in psychology from Utah State, where I studied the neuroscience of strategy formation. So I have some neuroscience questions and some AI questions. So kind of got a bunch of stuff, a bunch of questions, y'all. So I'm gonna cross the street and get to it once this car passes me or turns, and this car is going to pass me. Okay. Spring training questions first, y'all. So lots of spring training questions. We are, like I said, winding down. It's the last week-ish before we all go back, and then start the regular season. Opening day is 2 Thursdays from now. So someone asked, what are the pros and cons of like Arizona versus Florida? Are there pros and cons? There are kind of pros and cons. So the number one pro for Arizona is the fact that in Arizona, all the parks, all the spring training facilities are, there's like 15 teams that are in Arizona and 15 teams that are in Florida for spring training. The 15 teams that are in Arizona were no more than 30 miles away from each other. The furthest distance is Surprise, Arizona, which is where the Texas Rangers and Kansas City Royals have their camp. From that to where the Cubs facility is in Mesa, Arizona, that's the furthest distance. That takes about an hour. Theoretically, with traffic, the furthest distance is where we are in Goodyear, Arizona, to Talking Stick, which is where Colorado and Arizona Diamondbacks spring training facility is. If you include traffic, that is probably the furthest distance. That's about an hour and a half. So even in an hour and a half, you're still, for the vast majority of the places you're going to, within 20 to 30 minutes. And for some of us, like, you might be 15 minutes away from everyone. So one advantage to being in Arizona is it's not just Arizona, it's specifically the greater Phoenix area. You're not far away from all other teams. Whereas in Florida, the distances can be kind of long. So they're not all clustered around like one city like we are. It's not like spring training in Florida is all around Tampa or all around Orlando or something. Some teams might have to like get on a bus at like 7 a.m. to get to their 1 p.m. game, and then they're taking another like 3+ hour bus ride back. So distance-wise, advantages just in terms of who you're playing and how much travel time there is. It does go to Arizona, favors Arizona, but I would say in terms of operations of the team, when we move out to Arizona, it's difficult to align the time with how the time is back at home. So Arizona obviously doesn't abide by daylight savings time. So the 7 a.m. and the 7 a.m. meeting is a 10 a.m. meeting back home. But sometimes it's a 9 a.m. meeting back home. So you do get weird quirks in the schedule like that. Also, just in terms of commute, if you're commuting between Cincinnati and Arizona, and if you're like, who commutes between those two cities? Well, believe it or not, you commute. Some of us do commute, make that commute. If not weekly, maybe every other week. The distance is a little far. So the direct flights in and out, you're basically wasting 4 to 5 hours already in the air. And then that shoots your day, right? So if we were based in Florida, you're cutting 2 hours out the flight time. And you might be able to like catch the back end of a game or get in later and not feel like you're being rushed all day. So travel wise, especially for us in Cincinnati, we'd probably prefer Florida, but in terms of like once you're there, if you're going to be there for 6 to 8 weeks, I don't know, there's kind of an advantage to just being in Arizona. It's pretty nice, especially right now. Maybe not right now, today. Right now it's 93 degrees. So I'm walking around in 93 degrees. And this week it's going to be above 100. It might break 110 one of these days. So sometimes not so nice. But also in Florida, you're having similar temperatures, but it's also humid. So I think it's easier to hide from the heat here since shade actually matters. Whereas in Florida, it doesn't matter if you're in shade or not, you are just covered in heat. So those are kinds of some of the pros and cons. Also, obviously, the pro and con of being here versus being in Florida is the game times. All the game times are starting at 1 local. So game time in Florida at 1, it's obviously earlier, and so your day ends earlier in some ways, if you want to think about it that way. Baseball is kind of like whatever's happening on one coast may affect you the next day. So being up and watching more baseball at the end of your day, maybe that's advantageous for some people. For me, it's kind of nice seeing all the early games first on the East Coast and then going to our game at 1 p.m. our time when all the games on the East Coast have ended. So it's kind of convenient. But in season, I do prefer going first, being on the East Coast schedule, and then being able to keep up with the West Coast games at my own leisure. So just depends. Definitely all sorts of different pros and cons. Someone asked about what happens to the spring training complexes after spring training is over, like the 2 to 3 months that we're here, depending on what you count as spring training. There's your official spring training, there's like a couple weeks before spring training, and there's also extended spring training. What happens after all the spring training? Well, there's still complexes. So our complex is owned by us. So it's a complex that we built, and the facility is used all year round. So it's not just the spring training complex that, like, you know, it's not like we're renting a gym and some baseball fields, but it's literally our complex. So the 6 fields in the complex, the gym, all the rehab equipment, all of the staff, all of the facilities, pitching tunnels, hitting tunnels, agility field, all of it, including the dorms, including all the kitchen facilities. It's all built and owned by the Cincinnati Reds. And what isn't owned, we are leasing from the city of Goodyear, in particular the fields. So it's a year-round complex. The rehab group is based out of here, minor league medical, minor league nutrition. Sports science is headquartered out here. Player development's headquarters is here. So a lot of our minor league operations staff is based out of Arizona. And also there's a league, our complex league, which is what used to be rookie ball. When rookie ball became consolidated into complex league, we play complex games out here. So there are minor league games. It's the lowest level of minor league play, rookie ball, complex league baseball. But it is organized professional baseball for players who are part of our player development system. They are minor league players. They are nowhere near close to being major league players, but they are Reds, and they are other players who we play against. Dodgers facility is out here. Padres are out here. I talked about the Rangers and the Orioles, or the Rangers and the Royals. The 15 teams that have their complexes out here, they do have full-time operations out here. So it's not like, you know, we have this egregious spend and then like disappear. The complexes are actually used all the time. Actually, something I found out this year was the ballpark that we play some of our games in, all of our spring training games, but also our complex league games, Goodyear Ballpark. That ballpark has like, I guess, 80 events a year, and that's not including spring training games, which is kind of insane. Like, it's getting used almost twice a week. So it's like, you know, birthday parties, fundraising events. Some people use the field, some people just use the parking lot. Like, it's the city owns that part of the complex. It's not even attached to the complex. It's a baseball field, like about 3/4 of a mile north of the complex. But yeah, it gets used for all sorts of stuff. So these facilities get used year round. I think a lot of people think it's kind of like training camps for different sports, where like they just go somewhere nice, or like they go to some destination, or there's not like a permanent facility. It's like a place that they rent. I remember, the Oakland Raiders would have their training camp in Napa Valley. And like, they don't have a complex there. They just, rent a field. They set up shop there. People live around there for their preseason work. That way, they have a place to work with a really big camp until the season starts, and then, they live around their stadium at that point. But, why waste, the nice part of fall living, around a place you're going to live for the next, winter, when you could be someplace nice like Napa Valley. So some people, think that it's a little like that, where it's not really like the complex is just like something we rent or something that's like occupied only for a short term, but it's actually a full-time deal. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, I think that was all the spring training questions. That ate up a ton of time, so hopefully I could get to all these other ones. Next one. Let's go with... All right, let's do this one. Someone asked, so a little background. Many years ago, when I was a streamer still, one thing I got kind of famous for was the analytics of bull riding. Shout out to Slade Long and all the work that he did and does for... Oh, sorry, Chad. Whoops. Sorry about that. Sometimes the selfie stick gets a little out of whack. Okay, there we go. Shout out to Slade Long and all the work that he does over at Pro Bull Stats. But for, I don't know, call it like 3 or 4 months, I took it upon myself to develop advanced statistics for pro bull riding. And he had all sorts of things that he tracked. And it was really cool because like he was a big part of, me understanding the stats that he's doing, but I had no idea about pro bull riding. As a community, my stream and everyone in chat, we like, got invested into like learning more about pro bull riding, what it was, and then using our sports analytics intuition, stealing from methods from different sports, came up with all sorts of different stats that would describe like how good a bull rider someone was. And not just a bull rider, but how competitive the bull they were riding was, which I didn't realize was like a big deal. Like people who are really invested into pro bull riding, they really care about like how good the bulls are. I thought that was just like, here's a bull with a funny name. Who knows what the quality of the bull is, but that's like the way that it was told to me and the way that it really is. The rider is like the batter, but the pitcher is like the bull. Like the bull has all the control. and you just have to react to it. So I always thought that that was a cool analogy. So someone asked in chat, given my nickname, oh my God, this happened again. I honestly think the reason this is happening, chat, is because it's so hot. So the stick is giving way. But someone asked, since my background in bull riding and public sports analytics, if I was the Bill James of Bullriding, what's the next sport someone can be the Bill James in? Fantastic question, because it knocks on the door of the thing that I really have a lot of passion about, which is get weird with open data sets. We talked about bull riding, but back in the day, I was interviewing, this is before I was in sports. So when I was looking for jobs, I had a postdoc fellowship lined up, but it wasn't going to start for over a year. And there was no way for me to work in the lab because they didn't even have a spot for me. They had to wait for people to leave the lab for me to have a spot. So they were planning for like over a year. I'd have a spot. I'd be working off a particular grant, but I needed to float myself for an entire year just on my own. And I was like, okay, well, I can do that, but what am I going to do? So I figured, like, what if I got like a cool job? Like a job where, like, it was fun. It was a fun job, but it wasn't a job where I was going to like completely think it was going to be my career, right? So I applied to all these jobs, and one job that I applied to was to be a data journalist at a pretty big digital journalism media company. I won't say who it was. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus or anything. So, but I was going through the interview process to be a data journalist, and my the problem set they gave me was so cool. It was like, here's the open FDA data set. Come up with whatever story you want using the data set, and write a 600-word post that, that would be, featured or posted on this website. And I was like, perfect. So I wrote this cool blog post about like different, like what's the most bang for your buck at different stadiums and ballparks. Like if you're going to, go and eat a bunch of food at a sporting event, what would be the best place to do that and why? Like what's the bang for the buck? And like the hook there was like, oh, what's going to be the best food? But for me, I judged it by calories, like dollars per calorie. What's the most food you could get calorically? And there were some really cool food items. There was the horse collar sausage at for the Green Bay Packers, I believe, at Lombard Field. That was like, I want to say it was like a 6-foot sausage or something, and it cost like $50, but it was like one of the cheaper items per calorie. There was also the Arizona, I believe the Arizona Diamondbacks had this churro dog, where it was like think of like it's a churro between two eclair hot dogs, or eclair donuts. So it's kind of like mimicking a hot dog with like scoops of ice cream on top. And so calorically, that was like really, really big, and it was relatively cheap compared to some of the other items. So you had all these cool items, but that always got me thinking, like, you know, there isn't enough like fun food journalism. There's a lot of like health journalism, but you know, websites that provide like fun lists on like where to eat or what to eat. Like, there's only a handful of them. So I always thought, like, if there was like a, you know, a Fangraphs or a sports reference type website for like food, that might have been a cool place, or like drinks or something. That might be a cool place for people to spend some analytics power. But in the sporting world, I think like the number one place people might want to invest some time if they want to be the Bill James of a sport, it's probably F1. It's just so popular, and there's like a handful of people who do it. But more would definitely be welcomed. So, and there's so many like different nuances to, sorry, this keeps falling, by the way, chat. I don't know what's going on. I honestly think it's just so hot. But yeah, there's so many nuances to F1 that you could probably just get tons of different stats that not a lot of people think about. And you could probably make pretty cool graphs and stuff. I saw this cool graph on like optimal track, how to like get through a particular chicane. And it was really cool because like in my mind, that's definitely what would happen, but it also tracked like the speed and like how fast and how slow you need to be around the corners optimally. Thought that was really neat. So I don't know, there's a lot of stuff like that that I think could go a long way. Man, I feel so bad for everyone who's currently watching because the stick keeps falling. Maybe it's like gotta shorten it up? Maybe? Let's try. Now it's like super close. That's fine. So yeah, that's my thought. Maybe that. Someone asked about, I'll skip the esport question. I'll save that one for the next episode, chat. This one was pretty cool. Someone asked about injuries in sport, and they related it back to what they called like some form of synesthesia. But I know what they're referencing. The thing that they're referencing is this work by this professor out of UCSD, Dr. Ramachandran, who discovered phantom limb pain. He has a famous book, like The Phantoms of the Brain, I believe. But he has been in several documentaries. One of them, I think, was like a Dateline NBC, not Dateline. It was like a 60 Minute or something. And it showcased like the treatment of phantom limb pain, where basically people who have lost their limbs but experience trauma from losing the limb. Like, think like if you were at war, if you were in a car crash and it like severed your arm, and you remember how painful that was when they, amputate the limb, you still experience this pain even though the limb doesn't exist. So this treatment is like they put you in a booth with a mirror, and when you put your arm in the booth, the mirror reflects across, so it looks like you have both arms. And they make you do these like, clench your fist and then release and feel, and like the way it stimulates your brain, particularly the areas that control where your limb once was, there is the soothing or this like therapeutic nature to doing this treatment. So someone asked, like, is it possible that something like that could be a treatment for athletes? Is there some way to like treat pain by doing some sort of like phantom limb thing? Now, I kind of like gave away the punchline here, but when you're treating phantom limbs, there is a requirement, which is pretty standard for phantom limb treatment, which is needing a phantom limb. So psychologically, it's difficult to, trick your brain into thinking that, one limb is mimicking the other when you have both available. So say you had like a foot injury and you tried to do a phantom limb exercise, you would still have all access to your actual real foot. So it kind of fails to stimulate the other side, even though try your hardest, you might try to like placebo or convince yourself it might be working, but all your nerves through your peripheral into your central nervous system up to your brain, they're all still connected. It's very difficult to trick your brain into having sensations other than the ones that it's actually having, especially when you still have the full limb. So while it's like a novel, interesting thought, it kind of fails that first principle of like phantom limb treatment only really helps phantom limb victims. So I do believe that some things like that could work, but that does remind me of like Dr. Ramachandran. He was also famous for Capgras syndrome, which not a lot of people know about, but Capgras syndrome is like when you think a particular object is not that object. Most famously, I would say in terms of Capgras syndrome, the book by Oliver Sacks, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. I always think it's Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Coat, but it's a hat. That is quite literally describing Capgras syndrome. So you just see things that you think are completely one thing, but they're not. So he was one of the forefront researchers of that syndrome. But anyway, I digress. There are interesting use cases for neuroscience in professional sports. And I'll say this, and I don't care if it's a spicy take, but I do think like the realm of sports psychology as it stands is a little stale. A lot of the research and techniques that are out there, they haven't really been updated in a long time. And that's no offense to sports psychology researchers who are currently out there doing great research, but in terms of the applied realm of sports psychology, there's not a ton of like new innovation that's, able to be scalable in field. There's a lot of people working with biofeedback, neurofeedback, but it's hard to scale biofeedback, neurofeedback to an entire football team, let alone an entire baseball organization. So where there are limits, there needs to be innovation. And the benefit of something like neuroscience is like the innovations are so large because the technology is like readily available from different fields, but neuroimaging in itself is like a lucrative industry. But sports psychology and hardware innovation in the sports psychology space is a very small niche when it comes to like medical or health related impact, whereas like neuroscience and neuroimaging not only helps people to be the best versions of themselves, but also like helps diagnose illness, helps treat and fight disease or malady. Whereas like if someone was like, we want to buy an fMRI to figure out why people process pitches in the batter's box better than others, well, it's a very expensive tool to do something that maybe you just need like a pair of eye tracking glasses to do. So I tend to think some angles in the world of sports psychology just needs to blend a little more with what the current status of neuroscience technology, cognitive neuroscience technology exists. But once again, there's a scalability issue. So yeah. How do I open this door? Oh, it's on this side. Anyway, I am headed back into my house now, chat. But I did miss a bunch of questions. There's like another 2 questions that I probably should answer, but we're kind of headed up on time here. So if you want to hear my answers to those, I will give those answers, but it probably won't be for a couple weeks. Well, at least 1 week. I got to pack, and then I got to travel back home. So I'm going to travel home. Got to pack, got to travel home. And then the next time you see me will either be on opening day, so 2 Thursdays from now, or the day after opening day, which is my first off day since January, last week of January. But like, who's counting? So anyway, y'all, sorry about the whole selfie stick collapsing on y'all. Like, battery is fine, everything's fine, but pretty sure it's just so hot that kind of stumbling on its own weight. So anyway, for those who have like motion sickness or vertigo, I'm sorry. But for those who don't, and for those who do, I'll catch y'all next time. Bye, chat. Goodbye.